All right, let's see if we're up and running yet. All right. Looks like we're there. Oh, looks like we're here too. Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. As those of you who have been to my lives before can see, I'm in a different background. So I was crossing my fingers that the hotel Wi-Fi was going to allow all of this. I am down in the Orange County area. I'm doing a 2-day training the next 2 days. And so I came down a little bit early to stay in a hotel. So I'm really close by the training. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Jenny Ponzurek. Thanks so much for hanging out here for the next couple minutes with me, talking about 3 tips to kickstart your school year. A little bit about me for those of you who are new to me. I've been in the school psych field for over 20 years, worked in a school district in Southern California for about 13 years before trying my hand at administration. Did that for a couple of years, and since about 2016 I have been out on my own. Nowadays I am, what are some fun things that I get to do? Definitely doing a lot of trainings, very much enjoying being back for doing in-person trainings. I think, oh my goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've already done 4 days of in-person trainings in the last 2.5 weeks. Love doing that. Love being back in my car and getting to actually listen to a podcast longer than 15 minutes, which was my commute to my office. And when I'm not doing trainings, I am supporting School Psychologist online. I have a couple of districts where I help support some school psychologists, help with some overflow assessments, review reports, give feedback, all fun things we get to do. So what I wanted to talk with everyone about today were 3 additional tips to kickstart your school year. For those of you who were with me about 2 weeks ago, we started with 2 tips. And those 2 tips, and if you haven't had a chance to listen to that information, go ahead wherever you're watching this. You can probably find that one. If not, you can always go to my website, jennyponzurek.com. You can find information where you can find all of the previous replays. But we had some conversations about 2 weeks ago about different ways to introduce yourself as a school psychologist. If you have new staff members or you yourself are the new staff member. And we also talked a little bit about adding report writing time to your calendar. So I wanted to add a couple more tips to our conversation then. And as I was thinking about some of these tips, I do want to give a shout out to Amy Miranda, who is one of the people who helps me with some content for some of my groups. And she and I together were brainstorming a bunch of tips. So thank you, Amy, for a couple of the tips that we're going to be talking about today. And I thought it would be easiest for us to talk about tips from, we're going to start with one that requires no technology. Right? I know some of you out there, like, you're impressed you're on Instagram, you're impressed you found me on Facebook. But for some of you, sometimes when we talk about a lot of things that involve a lot of technology, you get a little resistant to that. So we're going to talk our first tip, no tech. Second tip, pretty low tech. And third tip is pretty high tech. All right, so that's the way we're going to go today. So we are going to start, as I said, with some low tech. And we're going to start off with just some simple things that you can do with a paper and pencil. Now, of course, for all of you techie people, you can make this more high tech if you want to. But I love this tip that Amy shared as we were brainstorming, and that was, what if we had a handful of thank you cards in our drawer, in our bags, in the trunk of our car? There are times that some of the staff that we work with really went out of their way to do something amazing. And yes, we say thank you. We might even say thank you in an email. But I don't know about you, but every once in a while, I will get a handwritten card. And I think because they're so rare nowadays, like, I keep them. I keep them with me. And so every once in a while, you get those amazing classroom observations, right? You get to be in a teacher's classroom. And I don't know about you, sometimes I have teachers that, like, I don't want to leave their classroom. I love being in their classroom. I love what they're doing. And I have to remind myself I have other things to do. Sometimes I have someone who went out of their way and maybe had my back during a meeting. Sometimes myself and my admin had like a really good conversation. I just want to say thank you to them in a different kind of way. So I love this tip that Amy shared, which was, what if we just had some on hand? So when we had that moment where we thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to send them a quick thank you card? We'd have that. We'd have that possibility. Now, I don't know about all of you. I mentioned when I get a handwritten note, I usually keep them. I do have them in a special place. There are definitely emails too that I get that have some very kind words in them. And I have to tell you, this is my little secret, is whether I have these handwritten in a special spot where I know where they are, or I have to say, some emails that have super kind words, I will put them in an email folder and I label the folder me. M-E. And I go to these when I'm having a really rough day. When I'm having one of those days that maybe kind words were not spoken to me, or people were upset at me, or kids spit at me, or something like that. And I just have to remind myself sometimes, like, remember when people did say nice things about me? I'm going to go ahead and just remind myself. So as you are walking through this school year, if you yourself are getting those, I would encourage you to think about what are some different ways that you can kind of capture those so that you can go to them when you're having those not so great days. All right, so tip number 1 really takes no tech to it, just paper and pencil. And of course, if you don't have thank you cards, you could, I don't know, go get a piece of construction paper and make one, old-fashioned ways, right? Lots of different ways to do that. Okay, second thing we're going to talk about is a quick tip that has to do with our computer, so a little low tech here. And this is ways for you to think about. I have a great person that I work with named Sarah. Sarah's our school psych team member who's over in South Carolina. And one of the things that she talks about a lot that I just love, and it's such a good reminder, is she always talks about future Sarah. So I think about future Jenny. What are some things that I can do for future Jenny so that once the school year starts, I know some of you are already back there. Some of you still have a couple more weeks. But what are some things that when I'm getting into the rush of kids are back, I have things that are due right away, what are some things that I can do to set myself up for success so that I can be as efficient as possible? So one of the things that can be really helpful, as you can see here in this computer screen, it's a blank computer screen. Now, I don't know, it's obviously not on. Most people, when you open up your desktop, may have a couple of quick, what do they call, shortcuts to some of your favorite things to make sure you know where's Q Global, where's MHS Online, where is our IEP software program. A lot of times people put that on their desktop. The other place people will put that, of course, is once you go into your browser. Like I use my bookmark bar at the very top, and that's where I have them all, so that I don't have to go through my email, remind myself where is that. They are in quick and easy places. Now, speaking of that, let's talk about your desktop. If you are one of those people that you save everything on your desktop and you know who you are, you open up your computer, other people walk past you like me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so much on your desktop. How do you find anything, right? Future you, future Jenny appreciates when I see that my desktop is getting a little too out of control. I gotta spend just 5 minutes reorganizing it. I gotta put things in the trash that I don't need anymore. I always have to remember that if my computer dies, right? I've had my computer die. Anyone else spill water on their laptops, or is that just me? Yeah. My husband told me the other day as I was putting a bottle of water in my backpack, he goes, I can't believe you still do that. Remember when you did that and the water bottle wasn't clicked on top and you spilled water all over your laptop? And I was like, oh yeah, I got new water bottles though. And I do click it shut every single time now. And my laptop has water insurance. Those are the two things that I learned from that, right? But what I remember from that experience was anything saved on my desktop was no longer saved. It was gone. So I want you to think about those of you who've been doing this for a while, those of you who've been in the school psych world for a while, I want you to think about what are some of those things that you always go to and make sure those are in really easy, quick access for you, whether again, they're on the desktop or in your bookmark bar, somewhere where you can easily find things. You are going to be busy this year. And so set yourself up for success, right? Do something now, even if you're like, I don't know, put it on your to-do list for your first week back, right? If you're not back at school yet, think about some ways that you can be nice to future version of you. All right, so that's tip number 2. Tip number 1 were some thank you notes. Tip number 2 was really about organizing your desktop, organizing your bookmark bar, thinking about how it's going to be easy for you to find things that you are using all of the time. So I have for myself Q Global, Q Interactive, what other? Those are my only Qs, MHS, WPS, all of my online systems, my student information system, and my IEP software program, right? All of those are quick, easy access for me. All right, this is my high-tech one. Again, I'm gonna thank Amy for this one because I had never heard of this before, but I thought it was such a great idea. Many school psychologists walk around with a lanyard. They walk around with their student ID, they have their keys, they have something with them, whether they wear it around their neck or have it in their pocket, whatever works for them. And she brought up, what a great idea if we were able to use like a QR code so someone could easily scan, including yourself, to get quick access to things, right? Because we're not always sitting in front of our laptop. While I can have a lot of cool, shortcuts on my desktop, I'm not walking around with my laptop all the time. And sometimes it's hard for me. I will tell you just this moment, I told you I'm sitting at a hotel. I was already figuring out what I want a DoorDash to bring me for dinner tonight. And I was trying to log in on my phone and I'm like, none of my passwords are saved on this thing. I don't know how I'm supposed to log into this account, but if I had a QR code, amazing. I could have some quick links right there. QR code generator, I mean, literally all you have to do is Google free QR code, and it will give you a bunch of places where you can generate free QR codes, so you don't have to pay for any of this, right? So I use QR codes. I remember a couple of summers ago, since everyone was getting so used to using QR codes when we were in restaurants because they weren't giving us menus anymore. And it's so easy because as long as your phone has a camera, you can check on QR codes. So easy. And so I started using it in some of my presentations so people could sign up for my newsletter, like really quickly. You don't even have to go to a website. I don't have that ready for you right now, but you can just go to my website, jennyponzeric.com, scroll to the bottom of the front page, and you can see where you can sign up for my newsletter if you're not already on there. Love to give free resources, love to give some legal, I don't want to say tips. I'm definitely not an attorney. I don't know about you. I love when I get to read some summaries of some interesting legal decisions that have happened. So once a month, I try and send those out to you as well. So if you're interested in some of these things, feel free, go on over to my website because I don't have my QR code. I will tell you, I tried to do it, but I got to the hotel kind of close to the start of this, so I didn't really have time to do that. I'm just going to be upfront. Maybe not the best thinking as I was leaving my office on what time I needed to get down here, but you never know what traffic's going to be like here in the Los Angeles, Orange County areas. All right, so for those of you who QR codes, you're like me. When I heard Amy first talk about this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I cannot wait to think about what do I want to have on there? What do I sometimes walk around my campuses and think, oh, I wish I had quick access to that on my phone, right? Or is there some things on there that would be easy that you'd want to share with somebody else? Right? That could be another thing as well. All right. So 3 tips we talked about today. We talked about low-tech tips. Low-tech tips were thank you notes, right? Moderate tech would be making sure that our desktop, our computer is kind of set up for some efficiency. It's cleaned up. All of our important things are right there. And then some high-tech things, some QR code generators here. Someone had just mentioned on Instagram here, someone mentioned having QR codes on student desks that would connect to something like a Google Forms for easy data collection. That's an amazing idea. What a great idea there, right? Lots of different ways that we could use that. Lots of different ways. So it's definitely going to be something in the back of my mind that I'm going to be thinking about. Is there anything else that I could use for this as well. I'm thinking about all those kids who struggle to remember their passwords, and would it be great if it just went directly to that? Yeah. I'm like right now, as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about some of the things I ask my students to log into, to maybe fill out some of their, student responses to the Connors or student responses to the Basque or anything like that. Like I'm already like trying to think, is there like a quick QR thing that I could set that up so that on the student iPad we could quickly go there? Right? My brain's already working on this. I hope you guys are too. All right. So these were 3 extra tips here. And I just wanted to share with you that this month in the Prepared School Psychologist, for those of you who have never heard of it, I've been running a group that for the last 2 years, I called it NSP Insiders for Newer School Psych. And I decided over the summer to change the name of it to the Prepared School Psych because it really was a better term for what I was attempting to do, which was to help school psychologists feel prepared. Right? Providing lots of resources, providing lots of different ways that we could provide life support and, support through different means so that when people have questions, they get some answers. So what we did to kick off this school year is we started 25 tips in 25 days. And I will tell you that the 3 tips that I shared with you today are 3 additional tips. Actually, we have 25 different tips. And the 2 tips that I shared with you a couple weeks ago, those are additional bonus tips as well. So we have 25 other tips that are in there. And we release one every single day. And so we started at the end of July. So even if you're not part of the Prepared School Psychologist, if you decided to try it on out, if you joined, you would get immediate access to all of the ones that are already available, already been, released to everybody else. And then you would have access to, all the new ones that are there as well. So if you are interested in learning anything more about this, I would just encourage you to go to my website, jennyponzeric.com. Right there on the front page, you're going to see information about the Prepared School Psych. You can just click right there and learn more information. See if it's something that you're interested in. If it's not something that you need right now in your life, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm just excited you hung out with me and you got to listen to these 3 additional tips. I'm hoping for you, 1 or all 3 of these tips were helpful for you and maybe gave you a little something to think about as you are preparing for this upcoming school year. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And if anyone has any follow-up questions, if you go to my website, I'll say it again, jennyponzeric.com. And you scroll down, in addition to being able to sign up for my newsletter, there's also a place for you to ask any questions. So if there's something that I talked about and you're like, I can't find it, just send me an email. I'd be happy to respond to it. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. All right. Wish me all luck for my 2 days of in-person training in the next 2 days down here in Orange County, and I'll see all of you later. Bye, everyone.